I'm sorry, guys, we can't tax the rich, because if we do, they're going to leave and take all their money with them. Politicians love saying this. Governor Hochul of New York is saying it right now, as her state considers a 2% tax hike on millionaires. Well, unfortunately for Governor Hochul, I love reading economics research papers, so I can tell you just how wrong she is. But to level set, we do rely very heavily on the rich to pay for public programs. I mean, they do have most of the money after all. So the question is, how much can we raise income taxes on them without causing a fire sale in the Hamptons? Well, researchers looked at millions of tax returns over 13 years to get to the bottom of this. This Young and Varner study is essentially the Bible of capital flight research. And what these guys found was that the elasticity of millionaire migration in response to tax changes is 0.1. So in other words, if a state adds 1% tax on millionaires, we can expect the net migration of them to reduce by 0.1%. So for the average state, that translates to just 23 fewer millionaires. 23. And let's not forget that new millionaires are being created in the state all the time. It's not exactly a mass exodus waiting to happen. And it makes sense when you think about who these people are. Millionaires are way more likely to be married, to have school-aged children, to own their home, to own a business. All of these things tie a person to a place and explain why millionaires are less likely to move than the average person. The idea that they're constantly roaming around looking for the lowest tax rate is a fiction. They're not planning their lives around tax rates. Massachusetts looked at this a few years ago and said, bet we're applying a 4% tax hike to millionaires. Well, a few years later, they have 170,000 more millionaires than they did before. And you can worry about whether there's this long-term hidden cost that we're going to see over time. But while economists bicker about that, Massachusetts is banking $3 billion a year in new revenue. And they're spending that revenue on free school lunch for all children, free college tuition, and major public transit upgrades. Minnesota saw similar success recently. New Jersey saw similar success. It makes you wonder, how far can we take this? I mean, the researchers looked at this question too, and what they found was that the revenue maximizing tax rate on millionaires should be 68%. 68%. If we don't charge millionaires 68% of income taxes, we're leaving money on the table. So Governor Hochul is definitively wrong. We can definitely afford a 2% tax hike on millionaires. In fact, we can afford a tax hike way more than that. The final budget for New York is due April 1st. So if you live in the state, call the governor's office and tell her to tax the rich.